Here we go!
Hey there, my name's Bubba.
My name's Anna.
And you're tuned into Church Nerds, an LTN Podcast Network member, and a proud one at that.
Oh.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing. Just hanging out.
Just hanging out. Just trying to get the docs open and things shared so that we can figure all this stuff out and know what to say and when to say it.
You know, the thing I tell people is that technology makes our lives easier. Unless it doesn't.
Yeah, until it doesn't. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's
I think it does.
Today it didn't.
I say that I welcome our robot overlords pretty frequently, and I do. Mm-hmm. And usually it's a user error. We call it an ID10T. It's idiot.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but this was a weird one because I created an entire document that you could see, and then it was taken away from me somehow.
Yeah. Well,
how did I build it if I couldn't see it?
That's a good question. That's a great question.
Very strange.
I will be very transparent with you. It was in my private section on Notion.
But how did I build the thing?
I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Anyway,
yeah.
We're not talking about that.
I will talk. I will.
But no.
I will,
You'll
but we won't.
spend too much time talking about that if you get started.
Okay. Let's move on. Hey, like I said, I'm Bubba. I'm the CEO, president, and founder here at Love Thy Nerd. And this is my lovely wife, Anna.
Yes.
Who is a systems coordinator.
I am. I'm one of those office systems coordinator.
And so when our systems doesn't work.
I don't coordinate this system.
No, ma'am, you do not.
So
you can. Do you want to? Are you?
No, I'm at my capacity for systems for the moment. So
nothing
Planning
for
Center and Google Drive keep me busy enough.
We also have Planning Center and Google Drive.
Hey, yeah.
And other stuff.
Well,
speaking of Easter. Happy Easter.
That's a nice transition there.
Hope everybody had a good Easter. Anna and I, we're very married, by the way. In case you didn't know, this is your first time listening to this podcast. We have been married. By the time you hear this,
16 years.
Oh, not by the time they hear this.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, by the time you hear this.
16 years, because our anniversary is this Friday.
You mean bis bump?
A bis bump. That's what TJ says. On Friday, we will be at game night.
Yeah.
Nobody's very satisfied with this, by the way.
No?
When people ask, they're like,
Oh, yeah.
What are you guys going to do? And I say, we're going to have a super duper time at game night. And they're like, game night?
Yeah.
What now? Not even, are you going to have a nice dinner? I'm like, yeah, pizza.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have pizza.
We're going to have pizza.
I'm going to get you Italian. Pizza. What? It's literally talking about this.
It's not really even Italian, man.
Listen, if my jokes are going to go right over your head, this isn't going to work, okay?
Okay.
Pretend I'm an 80-year-old man.
Day already, and we are not even done. Like, there is more day after this, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so as we mentioned, it was Easter.
Happy anniversary.
It was Easter this last weekend. We did some Easter things, not as many Easter things as like I would have I don't feel like we personally celebrated Easter very well, but we had a big thing at church. Like our church does a big thing.
We've talked about this before, that like especially when you work for a church, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you're working with a church or whatever it is, if church is in the mix, the holiday kind of just becomes another event thing. And you're not really looking forward to. I was talking to somebody just the other day who went and had a big an Easter lunch dinner thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I remember when my mom used to make those kinds of things.
Yeah.
We have never.
No, I saw
We
that
just
your
wanna
sister was like, it's not Easter at my house unless we have lemon poppy seed scones. And I was like,
We never had those growing up.
what? I have never even considered making a special meal for Easter because we are never, ever home before 1 p.m. on Easter.
Yeah.
So then I would have to make things after that. Like it's not feasible.
This year it was 3 for me, 3 p.m. I got home at 3 p.m.
Yes.
I thought we did really well when we screamed out of there.
Ooh.
You were home before that. But
I brought the kids. Well, they can't stay there forever. They do have to be fed eventually. And this is the fun thing. We have some neighbors.
Yep.
Across. Well, it's like the grandfather lives across the street from us and his family, they all come in for significant holidays. Mm-hmm. Like kind of any holiday you can spend outside. They all come here and they barbecue and they always invite us over. And for Easter's the biggest one. They have a huge egg hunt. They have eating donuts off a string. They have a piñata and sometimes like the potato sack race thing.
They have a pléthora?
No, it's just one.
Okay.
It was one Easter duck thing this year.
Easter duck?
And it was a force to be reckoned with. There are piñatas. There are two kinds of piñatas. There is the kind of piñata that is disappointingly weak, that you wish would have lasted longer, like 2 hits from a toddler and it's done. Then the only other kind of piñata is the disappointingly strong piñata.
The one's made out of like Kevlar.
Which like grown men have to finish that sucker off.
Yeah.
Or like you kind of reach the point where you're just tearing it apart and being like, oh, look, the candy's coming out. Yay.
Hit it with an axe or something. Yeah.
And it was definitely, it was the latter. It was a strong little duckling. So that was Easter. We survived it.
Yep.
We are still in survival mode because we go straight from Easter, the weekend of Easter, into the solar eclipse, which may not be a big deal for a lot of people, but in our area, because we are in the path of totality, it is a big deal. And it's like, everybody panic, red alert. All the gas is going to be bought and all
the food, all the water, all the sewage. They're going to take our sewage.
I can already see that it's not quite as big of a deal as we've been worried about. Because the thing is, when you're in a position like this, do you prepare extensively and induce some panic in doing so?
Yeah.
Or do you try to not induce the panic and not make a big deal out of it, but then you run the risk of not being prepared for like a collapse of sorts?
You panic.
And so...
Right? Is that the correct answer? You panic?
You panic. Well, so our town has a bridge that, you know, if something's wrong with the bridge, like you can't get... To try to get from one side to the other now takes like almost an hour because you have to drive around the lake because our town is on both sides of the bridge. And so that's a whole thing. And our church is like right by the bridge. And they're like, go buy your groceries a week in advance and keep your gas tank full. Make sure you have water.
Did you fill up today?
I did. I bought $5 worth of gas today. I'm just filling up a little bit every day.
Anytime she passes by
I do. I just fill it up because I'm like, if there is a run on gas, I don't want to be at half a tank when that happens. I want to be at a full tank when that happens.
Or more.
Or more. I'm just going to keep gas in the car with us and we will all pass out. I'm not doing that, everybody. That's not happening.
Not again.
So I did go and get the groceries today.
Yep.
I did mention this. If anybody is my Facebook friend, I was like, you guys, what do you buy when they're like, buy a week's worth of groceries at a time? Like buy for the whole week because you're not going to be able to get what you need from the store. And also like, please stop going places because we don't want traffic on the roads, which is also a perfect time to have construction, which we also have.
Dude,
do you ever
I can't believe that.
Do you ever have a day, that's a tangent, when you feel like you have lived an entire lifetime by 9 a.m.? Mm-hmm. Because that was my day today. Yeah. Between getting the kids to school, getting the groceries, and then being like, now I have to wait for 20 minutes on the road for construction to get to work. Like, you
were not the only one. I will tell you this though. This is nobody else. If you don't live in the hill country of Central Texas, you don't care about this, specifically in our town. They may take all day to like plow that road, but you can drive on it right after they're done.
Yep. It is. I was telling myself, I'm so glad we're going to have a nice, smooth road with no potholes in it. This is good.
Yeah. One fast forward, please.
This is good. I am so late for work, but this is good. Thank goodness for a really, really chill team at work. But anyway, especially I was prepping. Week, I did ask Sam. Villeneuve had some really good suggestions because they do like the blizzard things. She did say get blankets, and I was like, it's going to be in the 80s. Yeah, no, the blankets are going to be no. But all of the ice cream, I bought 3 kinds of ice cream at the store this morning. Are you excited about the flavors? Do you want to hear my flavors?
Yes.
We are going to go overtime here.
You won't hear them, but I'll say yes for them.
The best kind of ice cream on the planet is Bluebell cookie 2-step ice cream. It is Oreo and chocolate chip cookie dough mixed together. It's like Oreo ice cream with chocolate chip cookie dough chunks in it. And it is sent from heaven. It's wonderful. And any friend who comes to Texas who is like, I need to have a Texas thing, that is what I buy them every single time. It is the best thing about Texas.
That and a pair of Spurs.
I also bought a new Bluebell flavor. Bluebell is amazing, everybody. It's amazing. Butter cake.
Oh, I saw that.
So we're going to try it. I don't like to try new things in the world of ice cream, but we're going to do it because we're not. What else are we going to be doing? Nothing. Looking at the sun.
Maybe.
And the third kind is an HEB exclusive. HEB is also the best grocery store in the world, everyone. Creamy Creations. Honey Sopapilla.
Oh, I guess I didn't read. I just saw it was ice cream.
It sounds good.
I just assumed it was all probably vanilla.
I didn't get any vanilla.
Homemade vanilla. That's
because I am selfless. That's why I bought 3 kinds of ice cream.
That's true. You would have bought all homemade vanilla.
No, I would have bought all of the Bluebell cookie 2-step. That one.
Whatever, dude.
Anyway, we are prepared now that we have 3 different kinds of ice cream.
All of that, since we're already over here, and I saw on the interwebs today that we might not be able to see it.
Because of the clouds.
Because of the clouds. And it's like almost the entire path of totality in the U.S. is probably clouds.
Yeah.
But then it's like parts of Oklahoma in like the southern part of Indiana, like where the warm beers are going to be.
Oh, no.
And so I was just thinking to myself, yikes, watch out, because everybody might descend on that area.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is people are buying, I just saw another thing on the internet today that people are buying parking spots for $100 a day just to park. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, she boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to experience it. Yeah, in 430 years.
The last one was in the 70s.
Totality here? Mm-hmm. Well, they say it's not going to be for 430 years or something like that.
Put my head on ice.
Multiple hundreds.
Walt Disney me, bro.
Multiple different hundreds of years.
Irregardless of when it is.
This is multiple different is one of Bubba's least favorite phrases. To him, it's like irregardless.
We don't have time.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Don't have time for it. That'll be a whole nother episode, I promise.
Moving on. Today, we are actually talking about superheroes.
Obviously.
So, first of all, to start out with, I would like to hear, what do you think is I don't know if I should say the best, but your all-time, because we tried to avoid being like, this is good and this is bad.
Yeah.
But what is your favorite? My favorite
superhero. So, if I have to pick, like you put me in a corner, it's probably gonna be Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Like that feels so mainstream.
Spidey.
Yeah, like but if I'm really thinking about it, who's my favorite superhero? It's probably Spider-Man.
Like if he didn't exist, you'd miss him.
If he didn't exist, no, I wouldn't miss him because I wouldn't know about him because he wouldn't exist. Well, that's like the whole plot of a Spider-Man movie. If he
suddenly dropped out of the universe, you'd miss him then.
Yeah, that's the last Spider-Man movie that existed. If he
was snapped,
he wished
you'd miss him great big.
He wished that nobody remembered who Peter Parker was. That Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And so like...
Do what now?
That was a whole plot of a Spider-Man movie. You just...
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Spider-Man,
you could
final
write for
answer?
Marvel. Yeah.
Me? No way. No.
Yeah,
no. No, thank you. Well, I said actually probably Captain America or Batman. They're two different kinds of heroes.
What about Captain Underpants?
No.
Yeah.
It's too many fart jokes. But one of my favorite kid songs is from the Captain Underpants.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What is it?
A Friend Like You. Dude, I love you, bro. I love you.
That's from Captain Underpants?
Yes.
That thing's a freaking bop.
Yes. And Weird Al did a song for it too. It is a solid album.
Did it for the movie, didn't he?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That song is from the movie too. It was probably, I don't know if it was from the credits or what, but I just know that it's in our Spotify.
Well.
I love that song. It's a great song.
Okay, you picked two.
I picked two. All of these I picked two because I'm really indecisive. I don't know. Captain America he's so good.
Wholesome.
Yeah.
He's so altruistic.
He's a good guy.
He's probably what you think a superhero should be.
Like, makes good decisions for people that, I don't know, we'll talk about this more later, but kind of sacrificial. And
kind of.
he doesn't have, there's not really a side of Captain America, unless probably, spoiler alert, not spoiler alert, that's the wrong, full disclosure.
There we go.
I am not a comic book reader, and it feels like there are so many different storylines in comic books. And I feel like there always ends up being like the sleazeball storyline. Where that's explored. That definitely hasn't been explored in the movies. I mean, he'll have like some ethical dilemmas and stuff like that, but he always comes out on top of those. And
he's written pretty
clean. Like that's his whole
straight edge
kind of. Yeah. Batman, not so much.
Dude, Batman's all over the map.
But I think for Batman, it's just it's a nostalgia thing. Like, when did The Dark Knight come out?
The movie?
Yeah. I don't know what year it came out. I think I was either like probably in high school when that came out. And it was just, like, that is the era of Batman that I love.
Christian Bale is your Batman.
He is my Batman. My little cutie pie Batman.
He is not a lot of people's Batman, but he is yours.
He is. I don't know. I loved those movies. I think, for one thing, those movies were so well done compared with a lot of, the best ones that we had compared with that would have been maybe like X-Men and Spider-Man. And then when you look at like the gap between The Dark Knight and where Spider-Man or X-Men was at that time, it was like, whoa.
It was night and day.
Yeah. Like some things have not held up and some things have held up. Lord of the Rings, I feel like it's held up really well.
Well,
The Dark Knight, I felt like held up pretty well, but
you bring you bring Snyder in, and you put him you give him that WB money and that DC engine, and like DC is coming for.
I've watched it.
DC was coming for Marvel's lunch money.
Is that the one with Edward in it?
What What are the words that are coming out of your mouth right now?
Zack Snyder is that the Batman that has what is his name? Edward from Twilight.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I meant to say Nolan. I said Snyder.
But I was right though.
You were right. But he didn't make that one. It came after. Snyder was part of the Justice League stuff.
Okay.
And that was the whole big kerfuffle of Justice League so terrible, trying to create all this MCU stuff. But Christopher Nolan,
yes,
who also did basically all of my favorite movies of the modern era.
Who is Bryan Singer a person?
Yeah, probably. That sounds like a human being.
Is
Bryan
that a
Singer.
director? I feel like filmmaker. He's a filmmaker who made, what did he make? He made X-Men. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
Is that where you were going with that?
Look at that. Well, that's just another director, I guess, that I like.
The Spider-Man movies, do I want to say movies? I'll say movies plural. But specifically Spider-Man. When Spider-Man came out, I remember the feeling I had inside of my heart when I watched that in the movie theaters. And I was like, oh my gosh, peak cinema. Nothing will ever be like this. I had all these stupid thoughts.
And I still love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I do love him, but he's not your favorite.
Listen, you and everybody else, and myself included, when he came back, into the MCU. It's this love letter.
Felt like your friend coming back.
And here's the thing. Like, all of this stuff is why Love Thy Nerd is able to do most of the stuff that we can, because nostalgia is such a powerful emotion, right? So, but going back to it, like that era, the Christian Bale era of Batman, I don't think that there is a better pound for pound movie, superhero movie than the Dark Knight. It's so good. That's the Heath Ledger Joker.
It is really, really good.
I'm talking like pound for, you put it up against anything else, any other superhero movie out there, and for my money, that thing wins out 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. Okay.
I think things are starting to swing at it.
Yeah.
But I still think it stands at the end.
All right. So, other end of the spectrum, what is your least favorite?
Least favorite what?
Superhero,
period?
Sure.
Probably Jubilee.
Oh, wow. Okay.
From the X-Men.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Yeah. So X-Men 97 is a big thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Huge thing. I mean, and it's 10 out of 10. Yeah. Again, we're going to go big here. Like, it fixes everything about kind of even where X-Men left off, because it picks up right after that. One of the things that has always bothered me was that Jubilee was a part of since day one. Like, she was in the pilot episode of the original X-Men Saturday morning Fox Kids cartoon.
Oh, okay.
And I just think that she's super mid, and like, it has nothing to do with, her not being a dude or not having this. I just think she shoots fire, like low-key fireworks out of her hands.
Oh, okay.
And to me, I'm like,
even heard of this person.
Meh, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah. Well,
but
I'm looking at her up.
I will say X-Men 97, the way that they are developing her character and giving her more, stuff, like her role, it's making me care about her. And I told Matt that. I was like, hey, dude, all the good stuff that X-Men 97 is doing, chief among them is making me care about Jubilee.
Hey, like that they are really doing it if they're able to do that. Mine, Radio Matt.
Radio Matt is not a superhero.
I am so sorry.
Oh, do you want me to guess? Or you say Green Lantern?
I can't. Oh,
Radio Matt's a big lantern.
I don't like the Green
all
Lantern.
The lanterns.
I'm sorry.
Why not? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know. Like, I like Ryan Reynolds, but
he would be so offended that was the superhero that you identify him with, because he's Deadpool.
But he played Ryan.
He did.
He played the Green Lantern. I haven't watched Deadpool because I love Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not so much about,
if you were convicted by that statement. That's great.
No, there's just a lot in it that I'm like, that's just not my brand of humor.
Is.
Okay, so anyway, moving on. No, the Green Lantern is super forgettable. I felt like it was completely anticlimactic.
Yeah.
His power is just like,
it's It's will.
Well, I can just do anything if I just want to. And
No.
I'm like, not if I don't. It
You gotta more than want it.
And I have a super special ring too.
It's from space.
It just. I think I want there to be maybe more limitations.
That's fair.
It's kind of how Superman is. I'm like, okay, what can't he do? Well, he can't be he can't be around kryptonite. So and resist Lois Lane. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Green Lantern I don't love. Also, Arrow.
Wow,
Two thumbs down.
As much of a Batman guy as you are, you're just like everything else in DC is hot.
I didn't enjoy it.
What
I
garbage.
didn't enjoy it. Anyway, that's it. That was mine. Okay, so moving on to most underrated superhero.
Oof.
In your opinion,
Dude.
Do you need to think on it?
I'm just going to go off the top of my
Jubilee.
head. I was going to say Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds version.
Hey, and I will hear any arguments. I might have a very long message from Radio Matt after this airs or before it airs. I will hear your arguments. It's just an opinion. So
no, I had one in mind and then you made me forget it. Why don't you say what yours is and then I'll take all the time you're talking.
Underrated superhero. I don't know a whole lot about superheroes that don't have major films made about them.
Fair enough.
And so it's hard for me to say if they've had a major film made about them, they're probably not really underrated.
Interesting.
Like even Aquaman.
Mine has a major film because I remembered it. Go ahead. Just continue.
Is it Aquaman? Just kidding.
No, it's not.
Okay, so I was looking for one that hadn't had as much like airtime. I found this one called, are you ready?
I can't wait.
Plastic Man.
Oh yeah, I know Plastic Man.
Hey,
Plastic Man
sure
was
real comic book readers know who he is. Go ahead. Hey, I'll test you.
No, you go ahead. You tell me.
I looked up his wiki.
Go for it.
It's okay. So he originated in 1941 in Quality Comics, but was later acquired by DC.
Yes, it was.
So his story is, and when they acquired him, like obviously different people work on a character over years. And so you'll have one artist's variation and then another artist's variation in the original story. He was orphaned at age 10 and he has this kind of like Oliver Twist sort of story where like he kind of grew up on the streets. He ends up in this like ring of thieves type of thing by the time that he is an adult. And he ends up specializing in safe cracking.
Yep.
That's his thing.
What's his superpower?
Hold on. So he ends up at a burglary gone wrong, sort of situation in a chemical factory where he gets shot in the shoulder. And like, obviously, you guessed it, his wound ends up being contaminated by some mystery chemical because they're at a chemical factory. So his thief buddies in all of this like mess, they end up abandoning him sort of. I don't know if it was by accident. He ends up like wandering around because he's wounded, ends up in the woods, collapses at the foot of a mountain where he is discovered by, you guessed it again, a group of monks, mountain monks.
Again?
Like Batman. And they end up turning him for good. So his ability is that he is able to mold his body into any shape that he wants, sort of, like Mr. Fantastic or Elastigirl. Although I don't know if he's like stretchy, rubbery, or if he's like hard plastic.
He's not hard plastic. He's not hard plastic.
That's not plastic. He should be rubber man. Anyway, so his signatures are his white goggles. He's got white goggles to protect his identity, obviously. And he has a sidekick named Woozy Winks, who in the beginning had a superpower. And I didn't write it down. I think it was like that he was able to interact with animals or something like that. Like
I can interact with animals. It's not a superpower.
Like that he could hear them talk or something like that.
Okay.
And then that power ended up being like taken away from him. And he's just like the comic relief, goofy sidekick guy.
Which is really funny because Plastic Man is in The Flash.
Okay.
On the CW, formerly known as the WWWWB.
Nope,
Yeah.
you lost me.
And so, and he is the comic relief.
Plastic Man is.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a name like Plastic Man. So anyway, maybe he should get his own, like Ant-Man. That's a real weird kind of dumb thing, but they totally pulled Ant-Man off.
Ant-Man absolutely slayed. That to me,
so
if you want to talk about...
Plastic Man has a future.
So the question you asked, the answer is not Ant-Man for me because it can't be, right?
No.
Most underrated, that's not it. He's not underrated. I think he is very well rated. They tried to give him a lot more than he actually...
Were you going to say Ant?
No.
Oh, okay.
They try to give him more in the MCU than maybe he probably should have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is just top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And so my underrated is Daredevil.
Okay.
Okay. Has a major motion film, motion picture. And a show. Several shows, actually. And another one he's coming back. And they're going back to the Netflix, kind of universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think that, like, just the stuff that he can do, dude's blind.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he can make it through his kitchen is a superpower because I cannot.
Mm-hmm.
But he can basically echolocate.
Mm-hmm.
And his echolocation creates a perfect map of everything around him.
Yeah.
And because this is the dulling of one sense and, the increase of another.
Yes.
It's the idea that we can see and hear actually makes us less effective.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot see, he can only hear. And so it heightens one. And so
this is not what we have observed actually happens to humans when they completely lack one sense. They don't suddenly become superheroes.
Well,
but
they're lazy though. He's not lazy.
I mean, the heightening of another sense, yes, but it's a little bit of overcompensation.
Well, did they have radioactive goop splattered on them?
No.
I didn't think so.
Did Daredevil?
Yeah, it was like
was he at that chemical factory with
it's always
Man?
A chemical something, right? Like it's always that. But that's what I would say. And he's always fascinated me. And, we were talking about like shows and movies and stuff like that. And he is one of those guys that like, I really like I had the same basic feelings about the Daredevil Netflix show when it was on.
Yeah.
That you were talking about with when Batman came out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
And then they had like the Punisher come in and like all sorts of stuff. Elektra, I could kind of do without Elektra. Like that movie was super mid. It probably sub mid. I don't know. The kids don't have a word for sub mid. We just have mid. And so I think like that whole,
I think character
Jennifer
development
Garner
for
kind of
females has gotten a lot better since then.
Yeah.
I think that at that point in time, the industry standard was like tight suits, cool acrobatics, decent story.
She did fine, but like everything was.
No, I love Jennifer Garner.
Everything about it was like the whole thing was just kind of meh. And Ben Affleck as Daredevil, also meh. They had no chemistry, meh. Like the whole thing was just. Do I need to be here for this? Like, and so, but that comes back to me. I don't think that personally, Ben Affleck is a good superhero. Although when he became Batfleck, I think he did a better job as Batman than he did as Bruce Wayne.
But
personally,
not the best Batman.
But not the best Batman because I'm a Michael Keaton guy.
Okay.
So when he came back in The Flash.
Oh, Michael Keaton.
In this last Flash movie that we had.
Uh-huh. Well, a couple of honorable mentions. I felt like the Phantom Did you watch The Phantom? The Phantom. The ghost who walks. And
as a hero,
I mean, just like underrated. He's kind of fallen out of like, anyway, and The Punisher.
See, I thought we were going to talk about those guys as anti-heroes.
Well, we can talk about them as anti-heroes. We're kind of actually moving
into that spot,
transitioning. So the way that this kind of came into my brain, this whole topic, was that somebody in our Facebook community for Love Thy Nerd asked the question, what makes a superhero? Mm-hmm. So I kind of I read through all of that and I expanded my search just a little bit. I polled the audience, i.e. asked our children, which is almost a full audience because we have a lot of them. We have 4 children. And like what makes a superhero? Here were some of the answers.
Okay.
Caleb, our oldest, who is 11, he said superpowers or intellect of some sort. And that usually a superhero saves the day / world.
Okay. Yeah.
Naomi says that a superhero needs a secret identity. On Facebook, when I asked, a lot of people were really tied up in the outfit. I don't know if they just misunderstood the question because I did post a cute picture of our kids dressing up.
Yeah.
But I mean, Naomi mentioned the secret identity piece. Some people said they need a mask to hide their secret identity,
or just a pair of glasses,
or goggles, big white goggles, or regular glasses. Like
Who are you?
You don't even know me now.
I don't even know.
Spandex. Underwear outside of your pants, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of questionable design choices.
Well, the same people who designed those also designed for the WWE. So,
yes.
Cape, which obviously is very divided. You have your capes and you have your no capes because The Incredibles.
No capes.
Someone is joining us for this podcast.
Special guest.
Ta-da!
It's PJ. And Sylvia's here.
And the dog. We have one child home with us. Yep. This is why we stopped recording.
This is why,
originally.
Actually. Yep.
And he's joining us today because we had some weird time issues this week.
He is all by himself.
Webster's dictionary says that I looked up hero, just a hero. A person. Hold on. I might have to let you do the defining.
I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go get him set up. Yep. So Webster's. Woo-wee. Mamacita. We're going to leave all this in just so you guys know what's up. So Webster's defines a hero as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievement, or noble qualities, which I think we can all agree is a thing that superheroes do. Anna and I were just talking in the last segment about the altruism of certain superheroes, and she was talking about Captain America. And I agree with that. I think that obviously Webster, sold a lot of copies of this here book, the dictionary. And so when you think, anybody in general, when you think about a superhero, if you think negatively about that person, they are probably not a hero in your eyes. And so the goodness that they do, the way that you perceive them, it's usually about, you usually think good things about them because of the things that they can do for you or to improve your situation. So we think good things about, maybe some police officers or first responders, like firemen and stuff like that, because they can rescue you. They can save you from something, a burning building, or they can get your cat out of a tree, or they can put the bad guy away. And so that would be kind of the noble qualities or outstanding achievements that they have done. But this is probably my favorite, and I wish Anna was here for me to be able to read this with her in the room, but this is probably my favorite definition of a superhero. or of a hero in general, right? Okay. So a hero kills people that wish him harm. A hero is part human and part supernatural. A hero is born out of a childhood trauma or out of a disaster and must be avenged. That's by our friend Dwight K. Schrute. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica from The Office. I think that's probably, like, if you were to ask like children or really anybody else, that's the kind of thing that they would come up with, right? Like, what is a hero? A hero is this kind of a thing. A hero's going to come in, they're going to lay down the law, they're going to win, they're going to push everything bad out, and they're going to do all the good stuff in the biggest, craziest, most extravagant way possible. Think of all of the movies that you've seen, like Superman. Oh my gosh, if we go back and we think about like Man of Steel, it's absolutely bonkers crazy because he's going through and he's fighting the bad guys in that movie, and they're knocking down buildings and they're throwing people through walls. Hey, welcome back.
Hey.
And they're doing all sorts of really, really amazing, big, huge stuff. And so I just read Dwight's explanation. And so like a hero does big things, and usually they're trying to avenge something.
Yeah.
They're trying to right a massive wrong in the world or their lives.
Did you read Becky Barron's comment from the Facebook community?
I did not.
You ready for this? The thing that makes a hero is soft bread, high quality meat, extra cheese, a few veggies, but not so much as to overpower the meat and cheese. Or is that not what you're asking? I laughed so hard.
A hero. A hero. Got it. That's good. That's good.
I was thinking about how there was a lot of stuff that people had said that I'm like, well, that doesn't really make a hero because supervillains have that. Even superpowers.
A lot of supervillains are trying to be avenged.
Yeah. And so in order to answer the question of what makes a superhero, I think that we need to sort of explore that overlap area between heroes and villains and figure out where the delineators are. Like, what is it that a hero has that a supervillain does not have? Or what does a supervillain have that a superhero doesn't have?
Yeah.
So both superheroes and supervillains tend to have superpowers or intellect or just incredible resources.
Yeah.
You know, like Lex Luthor or whoever. Both heroes and villains tend to be born out of trauma in like one way or another. Both of them do usually have a super cool outfit. And or sometimes that they have a secret identity. Some villains do. You see a lot of that in Spider-Man.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I would say
more often than not, a villain just doesn't care though.
Doesn't care about his outfit?
Doesn't care about the secret identity.
Oh, about the secret identity. Some of them.
More often than not. I'm not saying it's not.
I think Spider-Man probably has the most secret villains because you've got you got Doc Ock.
Not secret.
Okay.
You're thinking of Green
Norman.
Goblin.
Huh?
The Green Goblin.
The Green Goblin.
Yeah.
There's also in Batman, like Two-Face. Kind of. Isn't that not a secret?
He didn't take it off.
It feels like a secret.
He's not trying to take anything off. He's Harvey Dent. Everybody knows it. It's out there.
What about the Scarecrow guy?
Yeah, well, it's part of his shtick.
Okay, well.
So anyway, it's neither here nor there. That's not a major delineator, but like that's the whole thing is that like a hero is trying to have a secret identity in order to protect the people that they care about.
Okay.
Because
sure.
Like in real life, if I know whom you are, who body is you, and I'm coming for you, I'm going to go.
If you are close to that person, you become a pressure point for them.
Yes, and we see that in the Dark Knight movies, when they find out who Bruce is, that he is Batman, and then they start to hit the pressure points of you can't save them both, kind of a deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. When we were having this conversation on Facebook, I was reading through, and there's a lot of like selflessness and a strong moral ethic and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, yes. I think though it has to be like a set of things, because you could have several of those things and not have another, and a hero it does not make.
Sure.
So they need to be courageous and brave. They need to be self-sacrificing.
Yes.
They do need to have a strong moral ethic, I think.
Would be nice.
I think a real hero needs to also be compassionate. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because I think that you can have any one of those things and not be particularly a hero. But if you have all of them, you are certainly going to be a hero. Like we typically think of heroes as being people who are going to stand up for the oppressed. They are going to fight for the underdogs in situations where it's like you may have a person who is a compassionate person and who does like want to see those people succeed, or it may be a person who has a really strong moral ethic. But if they are not, if they're not courageous enough to stand up,
it doesn't matter
in the face of danger, or at a cost to themselves, then they're
you're not looking for cowardice in your heroes. And so, like, to think about that, what are some of the characters that may blur the lines between the two? We call that an anti-hero. Well,
because you do have people who are like, they are super brave. They are fighting bad guys and they make lots of tough calls, but they lack that compassion for people.
They do all the right things for all the wrong reasons.
Right. Like a really good hero is going to sense brokenness in another person. Like that's one of the things about that more recent Spider-Man movie that came out was like the compassion element. And it was like, man, that just really speaks to us, a lot of us, but not when they don't have that. And you enter this like anti-hero era. Like that's what keeps me from loving like the Punisher as a hero.
Yeah. Frank Castle is a tough character to love. He's an easy guy to identify with.
Sure.
Okay. He is a tough guy to really root for, because you're like, oh man, dude lost everything. Yeah. I want him to have his family back. Does he need to eliminate literally every person in front of him?
I get that people have to make tough calls. I don't know, but this is,
I also think about, hold on, because I want to tell you, like this, when you were asking, like, who's your favorite superhero? I have a hard time calling him a superhero because of his story and how it works. But Spawn, Al Simmons, like this is a guy who like gets all of his power from Malbolgia, which is their version of the devil. And so he is such a good soldier that when he dies, there's a whole thing about that. He goes into hell, makes a pact with Malbolgia. Malbolgia gives him powers to lead his army. He rebels against Malbolgia, comes back up to the surface on Earth and has amnesia. But anyway, starts to, after a while, use his powers to do some good stuff. And PJ is back again, ladies and gentlemen, for the second time. Just off camera here. But we keep moving on. So, in this idea, this thought process behind what makes a superhero, it's really interesting, because what we do here at Love Thy Nerd and with Church Nerds is we like to kind of take these nerd culture things and also bring them into church culture stuff. And so how do the two mesh? Like what's the crossover here? And I think that when Anna and I were talking, a lot of it has to come down to this idea of like Jesus as our superhero. And there's a whole song like from, it's either late 90s or early 2000s, like the 20 aughts, whatever. And but like what what are the things that we see in Jesus? What makes Jesus an actual, like a real good fit, like the perfect fit for a superhero? And how did the people in and around him at the time that he was living, what did they see? What were they looking for? What was their idea of what a superhero was? And I think that they deal with some of the same exact stuff that we're talking about now. They wanted a warrior king. They wanted they wanted the Punisher to come in and defeat all the foes and set all the things right that they thought. But that is not how he came. That's not what he showed up as.
Yeah. I think if you read through the Psalms, so the Psalms, there's a lot of good stuff in the Psalms. When you're really going through it, the Psalms are a good place to turn to, because you can find so many different things there that you're like, man, this is what I want to say to the Lord. Gosh, David said something worse. Like the things that he asks the Lord to do on his behalf.
Some of them are
not always good. And I think that that's just another example of how, we see in modern art and in the world of comic books and superheroes and hero stories, that sometimes the way like that is characterized it's not always good. Like, and I think that's sort of the same thing that we see in the Psalms, is like, we're really not good at seeking our own justice. We don't do that well. Sometimes even as human beings, we don't seek justice for other people very well, even often.
No.
Like, I think that we still need to do it, because that's what the Lord tells us, his people, his followers, to do, is to make sure that we're like that. Justice is a big thing that we need to be after, but sometimes we're not like really good at delivering it. But still, the Psalms, you just see that cries for a superhero, the desire for deliverance, for redemption. And I think that's why we cling to the stories of superheroes. Like, superhero movies sell like gangbusters.
Oh yeah.
It is a genre that is huge, because like a good hero story, there's just something that speaks to us about it. And this is, I'm convinced that this kind of obsession with hero stories stems from our realization, our knowledge that we carry with us all the time, that this world is broken, it's filled with hardship, it's filled with death, and that just doesn't sit right with us.
Yeah.
We just know it's not right. And so we are always looking for redemption.
It's our constant grasp and like search for a savior. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you're rolling in Christian circles, that word savior has very specific meaning. But just generally speaking, like people are always looking to be saved from whatever the situation they're in.
And so the thing about Jesus coming and being the rescuer, like what you said, the Jews, getting real kind of like Bible nerdy for a second.
Yeah.
We went through it was called Biblical Story, just a learning opportunity that our church had last year.
The shirt that I'm wearing, it's an institute.
Part of what was covered in that was the 400 years of silence.
Yeah. And
I was completely fascinated by it. Like, that was my I enjoyed that chapter so much, because a lot of the other stuff, I'm like, yeah, I know. I already know these things. I know almost nothing about that period of time. And so it was all new.
You got to read the Maccabees.
That 400 years was filled with, leaders being raised up, but they were all kind of temporary, almost like the judges.
Yeah.
And so when Jesus comes onto the scene, they're kind of looking for the same thing. Like, they get oppressed. There's a leader raised up who ends up just wrecking shop on their enemies, a lot of killing and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, they're kind of set free for another few years until the next group comes along. So when Jesus comes, they're thinking that it's going to be military might and all of these different things. And then he like completely turns it over. So with our traditional superhero narratives, like what we would consider rescue to look like, Jesus still is, he emphasizes self-sacrifice. He has so much humility and seeks peace over his own power or over violence. So he turns everything upside down because he is a savior king who sacrifices himself. He turns down opportunities for power pretty much at every turn and wealth. And instead of all of that, he chooses to wash feet. He makes alliances with tax collectors, with sinners, and with sick people.
Yeah.
Who are not, that is going to get him nowhere, and women, going to get him nowhere.
Yeah.
And he encourages his followers to lay down their swords and to choose peace at the ultimate cost to himself, like even the night that he died. And so that's, that is still so different from what we think of the realm of superheroes.
Doesn't make a good Marvel movie. Tell you that much.
Nah.
And so when you are in this moment of expectancy, because even today there are still some of the Jews are waiting for the Messiah.
Sure.
Because that's still what they're waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus did come and he did save, and he just did it in a completely different way. And I think that him being the perfect example of what it means to be a savior, to be a superhero, to supernaturally save people from the things that they cannot overcome themselves. I think it's important to have that idea and that goal of Jesus as the ultimate superhero, because and we see this all the time in different comic books and all sorts of stuff, that people will fail us. Mm-hmm. As super as they could possibly ever be, people will fail us. Batman fails us. Spider-Man fails us. Doctor Strange fails us. Like Captain America fails us because he just has limitations, right?
Sometimes he gets stuck in a freezer.
Sometimes he gets froze.
So
the big freezer on the ground. And
doesn't show up for his dinner dates.
Last but not least, Superman. Like there is one of the most popular stories right now for Superman is that he loses Lois Lane. Okay, different shades of how it actually happens. One is that the Joker, kills her, right?
The Joker.
Yeah. Well, so things like really start to kind of and he flies off the rail and does the one thing that he said he would never do, which is kill. And then he just gives into the darkness, basically.
Oh, no.
And now you're having to go against Superman.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think all the time not all the time, but when I'm thinking about stuff like this, it's a natural thought that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
Are we able to even wield the kind of power that we hope that somebody would have and move forward in? Right now, I'm reminded of this because I'm looking at the box for the game, The Reckoners. Okay, mm-hmm. This is Brandon Sanderson novel, a series of novels, trilogy. It's fantastic. You should go and read it. But it talks about what would happen if ordinary people got superpowers. They'd be jerks.
Yeah, yikes.
Like we probably would not be able to handle that kind of power. And that's exactly what happens is those people become tyrants.
Don't really do well with promotions at work sometimes. Like
bingo. The littlest things go to our heads.
Yeah.
And so us not putting our hope and our faith in any person, but putting our hope and our faith in Jesus. Like that's the thing. And I know that sounds like really like sappy and Christian, movie goop and all sorts of stuff. But at the end of the day, there is absolutely no other person that has ever walked the face of the planet. There's no other entity, no other deity, no other being, no other anything that can do the things that Jesus does. Mm-hmm. And so it's important that be the thing that we hold everything else up against, and that we also be able to see that we're not necessarily looking, we say this all the time in LTN, we're not looking for the Jesus character and the Paul character and the Moses character and all these things, because it will inevitably break down.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to Jesus, because Superman actually was written as the Jesus, full on Jesus character. Like his parents.
That was his intention.
Yeah. Like I got a whole book on this, actually, the Gospel According to Superman. And it talks about, Mary and Joseph were his original, parents, and his mother's name is still Mary. And he came from the stars and came down, and he was the savior of the world, came as a child, like all this stuff. Like it's just wrought with biblical imagery.
Yeah.
And so, but he still falls short. There's still things that he can't do. And even with all of his great and immense power, he still fails to be able to save everybody. And then again, it boils down to the one person that he loves the most in the world, he seems to never be able to save. Whether it's his mom, or in the movies, his dad, or, Lois Lane, whatever. It's like he can do all this stuff except for the one person that matters the most to him.
Sounds like a bad dream.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Jesus is the best superhero, hands down. He's not the most flashy, right? Doesn't have the most notoriety.
Because he can't run super fast.
Well, I don't know. We never saw those sandals though. Probably got in the way. Probably
so.
I bet he was a force to be reckoned with barefoot.
Well,
and he did fly.
What?
When he ascended into heaven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna transition into our final closing arguments here.
We're gonna land the plane.
We do. Oh, you know what? There was a quote. I don't think you read this.
I didn't.
So a community member, Melissa Stevens Blackett, said, "There are heroes that are. They are the Supermans and the Aragorns. You never really doubt that they'll choose to do the right thing. They will always be brave and compassionate and selfless. And we need those anchors. Then there are the heroes that are becoming, the Frodos, the Eustaces, the Ironmans. We see the struggles, the choices, and we aren't always sure what they'll choose. We're sad when they choose poorly, and we rejoice when they choose well. We see ourselves in them, and it gives us hope when they become the hero, because it means that perhaps we might choose the harder path, the selfless, brave path, and be, for a moment, a hero in our own story."
Melissa. Dang.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to read your inevitable article on lovethynerd.com about this.
Surprise!
Because you will be getting... Surprise. You will be hearing from either myself or Radio Matt. That's fantastic.
Okay. Well, so for our nerdy recommendation, you have something for us.
I do.
Okay.
In light of what we are talking about, superheroes, and in light, it's a pun, of the eclipse that is happening.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
You should go watch Heroes. Because I want to know what superpower you're going to get.
There's not light though at the eclipse.
There's some light, minimal light.
It's very dark.
The whole premise of Heroes is that there is a total solar eclipse, and people start getting powers all over the place. And this is available. You said it was on Amazon Prime?
It is streaming now on Amazon Prime and on Peacock.
And Peacock, because it's an NBC thing. Now, this show starts very strong and then ends very weak. And so just be prepared. But the first season and a half of it, it's magnifique. It is so good. Nissan Versa.
Huh?
It's Hiro Nakamura. Have you seen it?
Heroes?
It's been a long time.
I've seen some of it. Heroes really did it. It did what the MCU eventually did, which was you had all these different storylines. It got so deep, so fast that to really understand a single episode, you had to have so much backstory. And I didn't have that weekly, And so I never knew what was going on.
And this was during the rise of the webisode. And so you had to go to the internet where things were not really clearly put. And you had to watch all sorts of junk. They had comics that came out, but they weren't like load bearing. But sometimes they would put something in a webisode that if you didn't know about it, anyway. Doesn't matter. Go watch Heroes. At least the first 2 seasons.
Are you sure that you don't want to have them watch Little Shop of Horrors though?
Little Shop.
That also has a major thing that happens in a total solar eclipse. Okay.
You can watch whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do have a Church Nerds memory verse for you. I'm actually going to be doing this one out of the message this time.
Oh.
Woo. I don't usually do that, but just wanted the relatability today.
Yeah. Okay.
Why did you look at like the way that you looked at me? Wait, ew, no, I'm out. Okay. This is actually Hebrews 4:14 says, now that we know what we have, Jesus, this great high priest with ready access to God, let's not let it slip through our fingers. We don't have a priest who's out of touch with our reality. He's been through weakness and testing, experienced it all but the sin. So let's walk right up to him and get what he's so ready to give. Take the mercy, accept the help.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great one. Hey, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for hanging with us and for spending a little bit of your day or multiple days, however you consume podcasts. Want to let you know that you can find us on all of the syndicated platforms. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We have an RSS feed. You can find us online on our website at lovethynerd.com/church nerds. We're there. And also, most of you don't know this, but we are on a brand new platform called GLU, GLU. It stands for God Loves You. And what you can do is you can go on any smart TV. You can look for GLU. You can download the app on your phone, or you can get it in various places like on Apple TV, Roku, Xbox App Store, all that stuff. And this is a plethora of Christian content. So if that is something that you are interested in, you can find Love Thy Nerd featured on that service. Again, that is GLU. Search for that in all of the app stores, and we would love to hang out with you there. Hey, once again, I'm Bubba Stallcup.
I'm Anna Stallcup.
And, okay.
I have a last name today.
Saying your last name is your superpower.
I'm Anna. The end.
It's too late. They already know. Hey, we'll catch you next time on another episode of Church Nerds. And if no one else tells you this, just remember it's true. Jesus loves you, nerds.